If you want to change your life, you have to think differently and move differently. As a person who has experienced two back-to-back layoffs, I know a little bit about reinventing yourself. I'm Carol. I'm a career and life transitions coach, and I help people pivot their lives and careers to find their dreams. Just recently, I interviewed Ama, a life coach who reinvented herself when she moved to Mexico. I'd like you to watch our conversation and let me know what questions you have in the comments. Like and subscribe. Well, folks, this is Carol. I from Design Your Pivot After 50 and Pivot to Wholeness Coaching and Consulting. And I wanted to share this amazing woman with you. She is a exceptional example of how moving abroad can really invigorate you and open up new possibilities. And I'd like to introduce you to Alma. She's a member of our community and also a life coach who lives in Mexico. And she hosts these spiritual retreats. So we're going to have the opportunity to talk with her about her move, her transition, her business, what Mexico is like, and just really get an understanding of what the possibilities are if you open yourselves to them. So, Alma, welcome. Thank you for doing this and being part of this community and sharing your experiences.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you for inviting me.
So, I have some questions for you, and I'm hoping that this kind of just like turns into a real conversation. But there are a few things that the community is really interested in knowing about. And one of those is when, what was it that kind of stimulated this move or desire to move out of the United States?
I think that it's a good question. I think that I just have always had a very adventurous spirit, and I had become rather complacent, I think, in the States and wasn't feeling a lot of motivation in a lot of different areas. And then I had a season of death where four deaths in 6 months. One of them being my sister, who I had to take off of life support. Um, and it just was a bit much. I really needed a break, and so I called my best friend and I said, "Do you want to come for a couple months? I'm going to go to Mexico for 2 months. Do you want to come with me?" She was like, "Say less. I'm booking a ticket. Let's take our dogs and go." So we came to Mexico just for 2 months. And I think it was within the first, this is when the pandemic had first started. It's 2020. And within the first week, we both looked at each other and we were like, is this a vacation or are we really scouting out here that we might move here? And it was something that I hadn't even thought about moving to Mexico. I really hadn't. I really just knew I needed to get out of the country to really heal and have a moment to of reprieves from everything that was going on, right? So when we got here, I just fell in love. I fell in love with Mexico. And we went back because we both lived in LA. And she went back, packed up her house, sold her car, and I did the same. And we did a turnaround within 1 month and we moved here. And she got her house, I got my house, but we were living in the same town together. And it's 5 years later, and it was the right decision. Yeah.
Amazing story. I'm so sorry to hear about your sister. That must have been an incredibly terrible time, but you found some reprieve there in Mexico. What is one thing that really drew you to Mexico?
So here's how it happened. I just knew that I wanted to get away for 2 months. And so Airbnb has an option of go anywhere, and you just put your dates in and it shows you different places. So I said, whatever the most amazing Airbnb is, I'll go anywhere in the world. I don't care where it is. And so I found this Airbnb and it was insane. It was like a swimming pool that was in the middle of the house and it had these gorgeous columns and it was like so ornate and beautiful. And I was like, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm going here. And it turns out it was Mexico and it was Merida, which I had never even heard of. And I mean, if it had said Alaska, I was going to Alaska. If if you know what I mean, it was just I didn't choose Mexico. I chose the Airbnb.
Wow, that's really interesting. That must have been an amazing Airbnb. Truly. Now, you said that when you first got into Mexico, you were in Merida,
Merida, yeah.
Me- and now you live in a different city. Tell me about the different cities that you've lived in and what was uh, amazing about them and what were you looking for?
So I spent most of my 5 years in Merida. And recently, with the last 6 months, I moved to the Tulum area. So I have most of my experience in Merida. And what I loved about Merida is it's a charming, beautiful city. The architecture is unmatched and it's has quaint little shops and restaurants and coffee shops and specialty shops. It's a special quaint city that it just felt so right for me. It was the right place, the right time. And I'm from New York. I'm from the East Village in Manhattan, and it reminded me of that. In that it was a very walkable city. There were great restaurants, coffee shops, and art displays and museums and different things that were just very live music, things that really interested me. It was a very sophisticated town, very sophisticated. And I made it just too hot. That's why I left. 6 months out of the year, it's really unbearable. Like I found it to be unbearable. But I loved it so much that I stayed there for 5 years because it's so, other than that, it's just like it's a perfect city. But I found that a lot of us for 6 months out of the year stay inside with AC until the nighttime when everything cools down. It was just too much. I like to be out, active, walking, riding my bike. And so, I made this decision to move about 4 hours away. Where I'm at now, I really love it because the weather's more moderate. It's closer to the beach, and it's really, really peaceful. Very peaceful town. I feel there are a lot of great restaurants, and there's a lot going on in the town. So where I live is I kind of live outside of the downtown area, and it's very peaceful where I live. And then I get to go downtown when I want to, turn up and go to the restaurants and do all the things. But I have spent time I thought about moving to Guadalajara, so I went there. I went to Oaxaca, I went to Mexico City, and for different reasons, I loved Guadalajara. It just was too big of a city for me. I'm from New York and I just wasn't looking for that. Same thing with Mexico City. Amazing city, so much culture. And then Oaxaca is so steeped in these old Mexican traditions, and the food was outstanding. The artisans, the artists that were creating clothing, pottery. It was just such an artistic town. But I didn't feel that call. I felt like I want to come back and visit. And so I stayed in Medicare for a long time, and then I came out. It was time to go. I came out here, and I like this decision. Yeah.
So, even though you've moved and traveled throughout Mexico, what makes Mexico feel like home to you now?
It's a good question. Let me feel into it. I feel like the Mexican culture is very similar to Black culture, and that family is really important. And babies are at the fiestas and abuelas, you have the grandmothers there. It's the whole family, and it's very that like it's very about um, family and connection and community. And I really felt that that was important to me, and I think just important in general to be a part of community. I just like how, one of the downsides of living in Mexico is that nobody shows up on time for anything, including professionals. I was my first year here, I was like, what? But I had to get used to it because the reason for that, reason why nobody shows up on time is because work is just not the priority. Family is. So if your family needs you, then work is going to have to wait. States is a little bit opposite. I really love that. I love that family is the most important thing here. Also, it's just a beautiful country. I mean, aesthetically, the you can have different experiences. You can have mountains, you can have beaches, you can have cold weather, you can have hot weather. You get to pick your adventure, and it's close enough to the States that I get to, still go back to see my family and my friends, and I'm not so far off that that would be, prohibitive. It's easy.
That's really interesting that you were talking about that relationships, community, and family is so important there in New Mexico. When you made your decision, which was sounds like was a really quick turnaround, what were some of the concerns you had about maybe leaving the family that you had back in the States to live in Mexico?
I didn't have any concerns about it until I was here for about a year. And then I started going, oh, there's a payoff for this. I love living here, but I'm not as close to my friends and family. So that's a jaunt back to the States and enroll people to come visit me. And yeah, that's something that I have to be really intentional about, to really stay connected to my family, my friends, because I don't live in the States anymore. It's different. Luckily, I've had, family and friends come out multiple times over the years to see me. And it always just means so much to me to share this beautiful country with my people.
That sounds lovely. So how have you been going about making community there in Mexico? Certainly having family and friends come to visit, but what about the day to day? What does that look like for you?
Yes, so it's very interesting because there's a Mexican community and then there are immigrants like me that move here from whatever country we're from. And there's a big immigrant population, and most of us speak English. And I think the hardest part of living in Mexico for me has been learning the language. I just thought I would pick it up by osmosis. I thought, I got this. But I had never studied any Spanish in school, like nothing. And it's a real commitment. Like it takes work and dedication to really master a language. Um, yeah, so that's been the I would say the most difficult. But in making community, um, it was very important to me when I moved here to not just have immigrant friends. I really wanted to make Mexican friends, but I didn't speak Spanish, but it still was my intention. So when I moved here, I rented a quinta. Okay, so a quinta is a fifth. It's like a couple acres of land, and there are casitas on it, these little bungalows. And there was a main house for me, and I was throwing retreats there. But at the same time, building with the community. At the time, it was 2020, and everyone was out of work. So the musicians, the nobody had any work. So they would come to the quinta. I had so much outside space. Everybody was outside. They had no space. And so we had live bands, we had DJs come through, and this is how I started to make friends. We had markets that brought together the Mexican community and the immigrant community together to sell their wares, right? So we get to know each other. And it was just, I know that there's some immigrants that move here and they just stay with other immigrants. I just knew that's not what I want. And so a lot of my Mexican friends speak English. And that helped me in the beginning, but it was really that my intention was to make community, be a support to the community and not be part of the problem with gentrification here, but see how I could be support.
So it sounds like not being uh, fluent in Spanish has not been a major issue for you as you are living and running your business there.
No, it's been a major issue for me. I think that if I had to do it all over again, I still would have made that quick turnaround, but I would have hit the ground running on my Spanish. And just knowing my learning style, I would have immediately enrolled myself into an in-person immersion with Spanish because um, it's quite an art form to really learn another language. Yeah.
Especially someone like you who is a deep thinker, a deep feeler, and having the vocabulary to be able to express those more complex and philosophical thoughts. I can see that being frustrating.
Words are my superpower. That's what I do. And so to speak like a baby has been humbling and kind of, you know, quieted me down too, to to listen and learn and take my time learning Spanish. What I know about me and everybody's different and how they learn is that everything needs to go at a slow, steady pace. And that's how I really integrate well. And so that's how I begun to learn the language. And I'm by no way where I want to be at all. It's a continuing process and it will be. Yeah.
Well, what about your day to day? Is that a major barrier just for like going to the store or, purchasing things at the market?
Well, I think I know more than I think I know. So when I get to the markets and I get to the stores, it starts coming out of me and I'm talking to the vendors and I'm doing this because I do this all the time. So I have more Spanish than I give myself credit for. But I think the next level for me is to be able to have deep, rich conversations and really make wonderful relationships with people who don't speak English. Because this is their country. Like I need to speak Spanish. They don't need to English. I need to work on my Spanish. So I would say that's been the most difficult thing, really.
What do you, what have you learned about the Mexican culture that has just surprised you and maybe invigorated you?
I mean, I think part of it is what we were talking about a little bit ago is that I was very surprised that things don't happen on time. Time is such an important thing for me, and I had like very, especially when it comes to business. Like if you say 9 o'clock, it needs to be 9. But in Mexico, someone could say, "I'm coming 9 a.m. on Wednesday." That could be 5 p.m. on Friday, and no communication. Show up and and, and here you are, right? Um, but I learned a lot about patience and understand this is not the United States. They have different priorities. And I kind of like that, you know, uh, people have parties until 5, 6 a.m. in the morning. And sometimes they're like, nobody calls the police or does anything about that. It's like so-and-so's turn to. It's like turn up all night. That's what it is. Because having fiestas is so important. So something that I learned about the culture, food is really important for Mexicans. And they took a lot of pride in their local region of how they're very close to the land. And I really love that, right? Because they're growing food here locally, and there's there's just wonderful food that comes out of Mexico. Mexicans are very proud of their culture, and they are very open to sharing about that, but they really want you to learn Spanish. They feel like that's a respectful thing. So, and I agree.
I mean, that certainly makes sense. And uh, and the idea that you were saying that you didn't want to be like a gentrifier in the country, I think that's something that is really important for our community to take that with us wherever we go, that we are visitors and hopefully we are visitors for travelers and hopefully we'll become friends. But we also need to understand our privileges by where we come from, or maybe our income or education levels. That makes a big difference. And we want to blend, we want to be part of it, not side from, right? Really. So, we're, are, what are some aspects of living there and working there? And I'm going to talk about your business in just a few minutes. But what are some uh, things that have been like super easy for you once you got there?
You feel into that. It's just kind of magically happened that I met all these amazing artists. And then we created a collective. And then I had circus performers around me and fire spinners. And we would create these, the first year for my birthday is April 6th. We had a 10-day long um, birthday party. So people would just bring their tents and they would sleep and we would have rolling DJs and it was just, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was really, really magical to meet such amazing artists and um, Mexican. When I first got here, like my first year and a half, 90% of my friends were Mexican and 10% were immigrants. So it took me time to meet more immigrants, but I moved out into a very Mexican rural area. There was nobody else that looked like me. Instead of living in the immigrant neighborhoods where everybody looks each other. I just didn't want that. I wanted to be drop me in the middle of it.
What did you gain from being dropped in the middle of it? What did you gain from that?
I think I gained humility because I got here and I thought it was going to be very easy. Um, but I just landed here. I was running a whole quinta, which meant I had a staff. So I had maintenance people who were working on the land and all of the negotiations and all the things that have to happen to make that I underestimated kind of how difficult that would be. But what I learned was humility to kind of drop whatever I came with from the US and kind of go like, how? I go, okay, if nobody shows up on time, like business still gets done. Like how does it work? And then I just like, collapsed some of my expectations around that. And then I go, they're gonna come eventually. And we'll just handle it then. And that is something that I needed. I needed to let loose a little bit and not be so like this needs to happen here. Boom. It's like you have to flow into the energy that's Mexico. It's just their priorities are completely different.
You know, you said that Mexico is a magical place. And what what kind of energy is like running through that land that you can feel, that you can sense?
It's just so much. Ah, if I had wanted you to ask me a question, that's it. Um, when I got to Merida, I mean, the work that I do is very spiritual. So I'm always and very practical, but I'm also just feeling energy. And when I got to Merida, it really felt like abuela, like grandmother energy. It felt like a place that if there was anything you hadn't dealt with, any shadow stuff, it's going to come up. And 6 months out of the year, it's incredibly hot. It felt like it like burns out of you the things that need to be released. And I had, I had, after all that death, I just moved here and started running retreats. I didn't get any support for myself. And I quickly, I was sober for something like 10 years and I relapsed out. Um, and that was really humbling for me to be a life coach who relapsed. I'm 2.5 years sober again. But I think that Merida really showed me everything that wasn't well, like everything that was in there, all the pain of losing my sister, having a friend that OD'd, having another friend that had a heart attack an hour after we hung out together, and having my dog die in my bed. Like none of that had been processed, nor had anything. Um, I had stopped working on myself, just leading. And I had that crash and burn, and it felt like Merida really held me in this healing container. And I stopped running retreats, I stopped doing all the events, and I just got help and I got sober again. And it was like a different kind of sober. It's like I feel like a part of me died in Merida. And then something else was reborn. So I think that place is very much about light and shadows and reckoning with whatever is not quite right. And so then when it was time for me to leave, I really felt that the medicine of the land, just sitting on, these ancient uh pyramids, cenotes, these deep waters. Like, I mean, this land is it's very much a portal. But I felt like Merida released me and said, okay, like your work, this is done. And so coming here, it felt like I get to now enjoy the fruits of all that hard work. I worked really hard to, first of all, being inside the relapse, it just felt awful. And to reckon with, I'm the one that helps people. And then I felt, but if you come here, like get ready for that. But also comes a lot of blessings. I learned so much about myself. I made a lot of mistakes and things that I feel really, really, um, I wish I'd gone differently. But when I came here, to this area where I'm at now, it really felt like a fresh start for this version of me that was born out of that tumult. Yeah, it's very deep land. It's very steeped in spirituality, in nature.
That is an incredible story, an incredible experience. So, in a sense, when it's time for you to leave, it was time for you to leave because you'd done the work. So it released you.
It released me because it was very much like that land speaks and it's very, I felt it's very feminine and I believe everything has consciousness. So you pay attention to the trees will talk to you if you're open to them. I felt like this land was really taking me through a very deep healing process to heal things that happened a long time ago. And I've gotten into this healing profession and was like, I'm good. I'm good. And I was absolutely not good. And got sat down and it's it was for the best, really. We're very grateful to the ancestors of this land. Yeah.
It's beautiful. It really is. So I'm also really interested in kind of the business that you created for yourself with the retreats. Please tell me more about what you're doing and how it's working as being an entrepreneur in a different country.
I have an online practice. I see clients one-on-one, but also something that I believe very deeply is that the people heal together well in person. We don't have to create anything new. We need to go back to what always worked all the way back, which is that we get together around the fire and we hold each other, touch each other's, lay hands on each other to make sure everybody's okay. And how are you? Like, how are you really? Let's unpack that and let's have time. I feel the heart of it. I like to throw a good party. I'm a really good party host. I love throwing a party. I throw parties, but I also like to throw dinners and I throw retreats. It's all a party. It's all a party. People come to the retreat, they need to have fun. My women are high achieving Black and brown women that are exhausted. They need to come and rest and have fun and delight. And we have DJs and we have music and we have all these wonderful culinary delights and we get to frolic with each other. And we, last retreat I did, I had so much content to get through, but I collapsed that and really like felt into the rhythm of the women and they were tired. They were like, we want to go to the cenote. We want to go to the lagoon. We want to lay in the pool. And I was like, got you. Let's do that. And on the back end, we'll get this work in. It all worked out. But I found that being here in Mexico really, really speaks to who I am, which is I'm a medicine woman who likes my feet on the earth. I like to touch trees and I like to look at eyeballs and I like to hold people while they're crying and have the group experience because they heal each other, witnessed. And so I think, we've had so many modern conveniences and it's wonderful, right? You and I can be talking here and we're not in the same country. And so that's fantastic. But I also think that something people are lonely. I think very high achieving women are lonely. And they're going like, where I'm feeling disconnected. I'm like, whoa. And we come together, and we laugh and talk and we fun around. And it's an art form really because it's work still gets done. We're not just sitting around tiddlywinking. I have a plan. But that plan includes some music. That plan includes some fun. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I think you're definitely onto something because what I see in my work is that a lot of women have forgotten how to laugh. They've forgotten what they find funny. They have forgotten their talents and their gifts. People who are exceptional artists, they haven't picked up a paintbrush or a pencil. Singers who haven't, like, oh, I sing maybe in the shower. But they're not singing out or singing with their group to get that energy that comes. And we forget that because we are doing all the things that are required of us or we think are required of us. And then given the freedom to just be ourselves there at the retreat, even with people they don't know, they can be themselves, they can find themselves again. That's an incredibly freeing experience. And you built that for them. So bravo, brava.
No, because we, some retreats there I use psychedelic mushrooms. and some I don't. But for the women that do want to work with that medicine, um, there's a lot of release, a lot of healing that come from that, a lot of freedom. So we work on different levels, but medicine is a part of it a lot of times. Yeah.
So when you decided that you were going to continue on with your coaching and retreat business there in Mexico, what were the obstacles or challenges that you had to face in building this business there?
Something that had never happened to me in my life living in the States happened to me here in Mexico, which is that I was like, oh, wait. Everybody thinks I have a lot of money because I'm American. Wait, soon a lot of people don't understand there's a continuum. We don't, there's a here. And so there was this sometimes expectation of me and finding people that I could trust to not overcharge me because I'm a gringo. And that was difficult. A woman here alone and having to negotiate in another language, men, a lot of times. Um, I think I've got better at it. It's something I have to be mindful of because I know that there can be this thinking that not from everybody, sometimes that can be there. And you have it, so you can pay more, and I understand it. But when you live here, when I live here, I don't want to pay twice as much as everybody else. It just doesn't feel good. So that's been interesting for me and something that is just part and parcel of what it is to be American and to be living in Mexico. Um, what else has been challenging? I feel into it. Um, I mean, it's really wild because there's so much I love about it. It's like those things that I'm talking about, it's okay. Like I balance that out. I go, yeah, okay. I'm not as green as I was when I first got here. I was like, oh, whatever anybody said it cost, I was just like, okay. Um, Now I'm more mindful and all things, but it's so worth it because there's so many good people and there's so much acceptance and people inviting you to their families' homes. They break bread and meals together, they meet their grandmother and leave their. Here's the thing that I really love is that I'll be 58 in April. April 6th, I'll be 58 years old. And I feel like um, women are not obsolete when they get older here. I feel like in the States, a lot of times, there's a real focus on staying young forever. And there's not a real honoring of what it's like to get older, eventually become an elder. But here, there's a real reverence for the matriarchs, for older women that come here and the women are just like, yeah, I'm just gonna spread out, let my body get big and do all the things. And that feels refreshing as a woman who's getting older.
That sounds amazing. Well, Anna, I really appreciate you sharing your story and sharing more about your business. What are you working on now that you find really exciting and you want to share with the community and the people who are watching this maybe on the replay?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's something I really want to say because I feel like if anybody's even watching this, then there's some stirring in their heart that's asking them to look at, do they want to live in another country? I think it's such a specific inquiry that if it's even knocking on your door a little bit, So why not give that to yourself? Like, why not just go? And like I did, like came for 2 months or 2 weeks or whatever you can do and see, like, is this for me? Why is this calling for me? I would say lean into it and get very curious about why that's happening. So I think it's very exciting to see and hear so many Black and brown women talk about what it's like to leave the United States and their journeys to get here. We have these conversations. I'm like, oh, that's how you got here? Oh, you know what I mean? So it's like there was some stirring, still small voice sometimes. It's like, can I do this? Is this too much? Like, is it even a thing? Wherever you want to live in the world, give yourself that opportunity to be curious about it.
All right, I think I was on mute there. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Um, where where can we connect with you? Those who are looking to go into one of your retreats, how can we connect with you?
Well, I want to answer the first question first that you asked me, which was, what projects am I excited about? That's what you asked me. Um, so I have a business partner who is also my best friend who moved down here, and she's an amazing DJ. She's also a healer. I mean, so we blend sound and healing together, and she's here. She's living in the States now, but she's moving back to Mexico. But anyway, she and I are in talks about how we're creating our new offerings, our retreats, blending our superpowers together. Um, and it really just came out of this space of just wanting Black and brown women to find their wildness, to find a place where they can just like, you know, have fun and also get well and also learn some stuff. And so she and I are doing that. I also really love when my clients come down one-on-one and want to do a retreat. We do that too. Um, that's very exciting. It's very, very exciting. I think when people come down here, they not only get what I have to offer, what 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 my business partner has to offer, they get what this land has to offer. And it's like I'm working in tandem also with the land. So this land is it's a vortex. It's like helping you change and transform. So I'm excited. I'm excited about bringing Black and brown women together to get free, and how people can get a hold of me. And you won't remember this because my name is very unusual. My last name is Nkwa, so it's nkwa dot ama at gmail.com. But um, Carol's gonna pin my email in the description, I believe. Right? And so people will be able to. That's the best way to get a hold of me is to email me, and really so that we can hop on a complimentary call. And let's just see, like, let's see if there's a vibe. I believe in that. I believe in that. I think people are checking me out. I'm checking them out too. I won't take on anybody that I don't think that we should be working together. But if the chemistry's there, we both know that, right? And then we get to work. And so it's like, I love an opportunity to hear, oh my God, I've had clients that have come down here to retreats and have moved here, moved, packed up everything, and it's like, oh, I'm moving to Mexico. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, that was part of their transformation. Certainly it's not all my clients, but it was very interesting.
That's amazing. Those are truly transformational stories, and they feel that energy from you and from being in Mexico. So absolutely, yes, I'm going to be sharing your information in the description and in the first pinned comment. Make sure that you can connect with Ama. And thank you so much for sharing a small snapshot of your journey in your life and being so vulnerable and forthcoming with the challenges and also the benefits and the rewards and the growth that you've experienced in that beautiful country.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I mean, when I first moved here, so many people helped me that didn't even know me, showed me the ropes, told me how they did it, and just had the generosity of their heart. So I always said, when I know more, I'm going to pay it forward and do that for other people. And it's so exciting to do it because it's so much fun to talk about. I love it. Yeah.
Well, that's so wonderful. Thanks so much, Alma. I really appreciate you spending the time today